You're scared.
I'm scary.
Double this one.
I'm scary.
I can tell. Those eyes.
Hey friends, Dawson here. I have watched 10 hours of Kristen Stewart so that you don't have to. And today we're covering her objective personality type because there's no way that she is the type that they typed her as. So you're gonna know her for movies such as Twilight. Yeah, okay, she happens to be the Twilight girl, and she received hell for the last 20 years because of it. I remember I was growing up with the Harry Potter series as that was coming out, and I remember hearing from that fandom and from the Lord of the Ring fandom and every other fantasy fandom, they just hated Twilight with all the sparkly vampires, the cheesy acting, or the storyline, whatever. I haven't seen it. But it all seemed to come down onto Kristen Stewart, that she was a bad actress, she was cheesy, she was unexpressive, she just wasn't good, right? And then like Trump is coming out and he's writing like 11 tweets about her. And so like all these things just came crashing down onto Kristen, and this has just followed her and haunted her for the last several years. But as I was watching some of her videos, I started to realize like I expected her to be selfish, to be rude, to be emo, like whatever, all these bad things that I'd heard about her over the years. But as I watched her, I was like, oh, I actually kind of like her, and I could actually watch her for several more hours. She's actually pretty cool. Dude. Just for some context going into this typing, if you're typing Kristen Stewart, you're gonna find that a lot of her parts, half of them at least, are gonna be super easy and you're gonna catch them almost right away. But the other half is going to be rather complicated. It's almost like a mixed bag. Is she sensory? Is she intuition? All these things just kind of bleed into each other. So you have to be really careful kind of going into kind of the later parts. But for this video, we are mostly going to be focusing on the decider axis here and breaking down those pieces. And then we're going to be looking at state changes because that's what's really going to be important when typing Kristen. Now, according to the greater MBTI community, around several hundred people have typed Kristen Stewart as being an ISTP. And you know what? I don't blame them. They're catching on to the fact that she's pretty dang cool, dude. So they seem to be catching on to the fact that she's a bit more introverted, a bit more quiet, a little bit more cerebral, and their initial bias might be a little bit closer than mine. Now, jumping to some visuals here, as I was looking at Kristen Stewart, I kind of got this sense that this might be a familiar type. Like Jim Carrey and Sly, I didn't really recognize, but with Kristen here, I was like, I feel like I've seen this type before. Like it looks familiar, like I feel like I know this one. Then as well, when I was looking at some of her eyes, I was noticing more of a sharper aspect to them, not so much the cutesy, pixie, double feminine look, so she might be more of the visual here. Then as well, when I was looking at in some of the interviews and some of the pictures I've seen of her, she seems to have more of these like bags under her eyes, these circles and stuff. It seems like she might be a little bit more drained, maybe sleep not last. So I at least have that visual aspect. But if I am being honest, how is she not an INFP? My bias was that she kind of looks like Emma Watson. She has some similar visual features at the least. And then I was noticing some people online were comparing her to Anna Kendrick, or at least the kind of face shape that she has. I'm not really seeing a whole lot of the same visual aspects, but at least that. And then she played Princess Diana in a movie. So all of those ladies are INFPs. So how is Kristen not? So that's my starting bias. So we will start with the easy coins first here. And so the first thing that I think you're gonna notice is going to be observer versus decider. And what you are going to see is that oftentimes the deciders will come into all the interviews and they're gonna be presenting as awkward, nervous, scared. They're scared of the people, of the judgment, whether it's the interviewer, whether it's the crowd. They constantly kind of have this nervous energy to them. Of course, you will see some of the observers a little bit nervous. You'll also see some of the deciders like Jim Carrey and like Sly. They'll present a little bit more confidently. They don't seem as insecure. They don't seem as nervous. But on a spectrum from completely confident to not confident at all and completely insecure, Kristen seems to fall kind of way over on this side. So Kristen may or may not be a decider, which is why we still have to get the cross-check on these things. And if she is a decider, what we are going to see is that she's going to have an easier time balancing out the technology, the things, the fear of control and chaos. She's going to be able to weigh those out a little bit better. But first, the INTJ guy has a very important question.
Here you are doing a fan selfie. What are the mechanics of that? Because, you know, sometimes I find like when people give you their phone, maybe they'll get a weird text, maybe they'll get a phone call. Maybe they have that thing, but they can't open the app and it's stuck. And they're like, I swear to God, this never happens. This never happens.
Totally. I just take their phone from them and take the picture.
Take control of it?
Come on, man, let's go. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have like a paparazzi evasion, like an experiment that you're most proud of? Some ruse that you've thrown them off the track over the years?
Move quickly, watch them fall on their asses, which is like really funny. Direct them towards obstructions and then divert. And then they run into them and they're like, oh! What else? Yeah, I mean, you move quickly and keep your head down, basically. Don't give them anything.
yeah, the phone and the obstacles, and you just move around it, and it's whatever, and you watch the paparazzi fall, and no, wait a second. Tell us how you really feel about the paparazzi.
You got people following you.
Yes.
I would have a fucking car accident.
I used to be out of my goddamn mind about it.
Yes.
And now I'm not.
You're not. You've
No,
gotten
you have
used
to
to
just
it.
chill. It's not safe. Like you really, you just have to like breathe through it and realize that like those people are not, to me, people. There are sociopaths that we're all very aware of that
Yes.
do not care about other humans. They're imitating people. Those people are imitating people. I can't imagine that they have families. I genuinely don't understand how you do that to people. They're thieves.
Okay, whoa, the scales are tipping here, and there's no attempt to rebalance it. The paparazzi, a little good, a little bad, it's fine, whatever. We used to pull pranks on them. No, I can't even imagine that they have families or even have lives. They are sociopaths. They are all bad. End of story. Now, the next clip I have is with the INFJ guy, and they basically made some movie about satellites and finding the real me. And so you're going to see one of them is going to be stuck on the identity talk. You and me and who am I and what's my identity and do you like me? And then the other one is going to be stuck on the information talk and the pathways. So, see if you can notice that here.
And so it's like, well, what do you care about? Your experience or theirs? It's like, well, both, because I love people, because I don't want to be alone. I think trying to be honest and real, so important. Not everyone is given that like luxury. Sometimes it's like so many people are like living, hiding. And I think there are aspects of self that people continuously self-deny. I would say that that's like the scariest part of like not being real. But there's realness in that. It's like every time you think about what's real or fake, you just like do spirals and the snake eats itself.
Totally.
It's like I'm doing my best to like show you that I care because I want you to like me and the movie. You know what I mean? It's like, and maybe I'm kind of faking it in order to get you to feel that way. But is that real or is that fake? It's like, who knows?
Yeah, you actually. I mean, you reveal yourself to yourself. I think for me, like, I think real is not like housed in or like artifice. It's not like your clothes or like even down to like cultural food or like how you represent, defining what you just accidentally did without knowing you were doing it. Like I send like a terrible cringe text and I'm like, oh my God, why did I send that? And I could spiral for days, or I can just go, that's just me right now, and then go with that. And that feels more
unsend.
real. Or unsend. Yeah. Well, we're making technology to undo that if we want. But I don't know. I kind of really love the way that I accidentally tell on myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of them's going, and me, and finding your real self, and denying yourself, and do you like me? And the other one's going, you reveal yourself to yourself. Anyways, the clothes and the artifice and whatever, and you know, I send a bad text, and I like that I kind of tell on myself. It's kind of like he's weighing out the people, like, whatever, no big deal, the judgment, not a problem, right? So you're gonna see that Kristen is a decider. And so now that we know that she's a decider, that means she is either going to have DI or DE on the polls. So this should make it a lot easier to see, okay, what is she doing in an extreme swing? This is one of the things that I'm starting to pick up from Dave as he's been talking about it. But what you'll see with the DIs, those that have DI at the top, the IPs, like myself, is that we're gonna have a harder time talking about people or about others. Yeah, here's what I want, here's my values, here's what's from me, I know my perspective, and I'm gonna have a harder time talking about the other people, seeing from their point of view what they think, and talking about others in general. Whereas if you are DE, you might be able to talk about yourself a little, who knows, right? But at the same time, it's gonna be harder for you to do that without pulling in the tribe, without dragging in their perspective. And you're gonna have a much easier time talking about others. So my bias is that Kristen Stewart is an INFP. So now let's watch some real INFPs for comparison to see how they talk about the tribe.
You're following Gloria Steinem on there.
Yes.
Tell me about how you met her and...
Oh my goodness, she's the dream. I did this speech for the UN for this campaign that we launched called He for She. And I had like a massive case of the imposter syndrome because suddenly I was like, me coming out as this feminist was kind of considered, and I was like, okay, wow, anyway, the imposter syndrome hit hard, and I was kind of like, I need to go to some people who've been doing this for a while and talk to them. And
so you went to the top.
Oh yeah, I was like, okay, I think I need to go and find Gloria Steinem.
Okay.
And it was just a really helpful conversation because she was just so loving and accepting in terms of kind of everyone is where they are on their learning journey. As long as you're doing the work and you are actively seeking and pursuing understanding and connection genuinely from a curious place, then you're going to be fine.
Okay, not too shabby. She's the dream, and anyway, back to me and my experience and the imposter syndrome, and and she's loving and accepting, and whatever. All right, okay, fine, I'll let it slide. Anyway, cue Anna Kendrick.
And just a little side note, I was an actor and do tend to still do it. So if there's a role in any one of your movies, I can get my headshot to you. Okay, so let me just I'll call my agent. Okay, well, thanks. And
what a sweetheart. It was 24 days, I just want to get there. Oh my God, he's a great actor. Like he's in an episode of The Office as he's the guy with the dog, cat, mouse thing. Do you guys remember that? It's like a late season Office thing. Yeah, there's a couple of ums and ahs. He's great. He's great in it. He's very funny. Oh wait, what was the question?
Oh, Paul, he's just so great and funny, and he's a great actor, and he's in The Office, and anyways, what was the question? So what you're gonna see from all the IPs is that yes, they can talk about people. Oh, they're so amazing, they're the best, oh my goodness, I just love them so much. But what you should be listening for is, what is the void in the conversation? How much do you know about the person they're talking about? So for each one of these ladies, I can say that, I can pull like 3 things a piece, So I'm not getting a whole lot here. They didn't really clue me in much. So you have Kristen Stewart, and obviously she's like super selfish, and there's no way that she's nicer than Emma Watson, so good luck. Hit me with your best shot.
We were just talking about some people being from another place. Tilda, Bowie, Didion, they're like alien people. I feel like when I read anything that Joan has written, that I'm getting a skewed sort of sideways glance at things that I usually just see straight on, and somehow she's always able to help you kind of step to the right or left and see it from an odd angle, and then really just shed new light on things that feel normal to me. It's like she has a almost sinister take on things that feel kind of unanimously accepted, and she's always able to sort of remind you of things like that. I don't know. I think even just her physicality beyond the words, you look at that person and you just imagine what it would be like to live in there. That voice, that particular voice, there is no one like her. I don't feel like any of it is even close to derivative. Everything feels original. All of it feels like thought bubbles from another planet. I love that person so much. And I love her kind of obsession with flow, process, how things work. I'm kind of an immediate, very present, really kind of to a fault, momentary person. And, our strengths are our weaknesses, and our weaknesses can be our strengths. And so that's like cool for me. But I love how she will dissect, the Hoover Dam. How does it work? All that power, keeping all that power in, like just her sort of like, her being taken with how freeways work, stuff like that. I'm like, I would never think like that. And then making it somehow really personal and making it almost like, she's writing about freeways, but she's writing about us. She's writing about people all the time.
Okay, big difference. I was not expecting that at all. Like, it feels like the way that she talks, it feels like she's about to drop the ball, and then all of a sudden she just ramps up and she keeps talking about the same person. That was like a 2-minute spiel on one individual. And how much do I know about Joan Didion? Like, I don't even know who Joan Didion is. Clue me in later, right? But I'm like, okay, she knows kind of how things work. She's seeing things from different angles. She's dissecting how trains and freeways and all these different pieces work. And she just has this amazing physicality of some sort. So it's like, I don't have a perfect picture, but I know a whole lot more about Joan after I watched this clip compared to before. I don't know how many times I was watching her and I would like zone out and I'm like, wait, is she still talking about the same director? Like, she has such a hard time talking in general, but with others, she's just able to spiel so comfortably. Now, in comparison, how well does Kristen do when she has to talk about herself? And for this one, I want you to watch her state.
Do you feel like, well, not accurate, but do you have something like that where you feel like you're lending your support to?
Cause-oriented?
Yeah, like using your fame and sort of distilling it into something meaningful?
Yeah, it provides an unprecedented amount of access and ability to reach people that you want to reach. You know what I mean? That's like a really beautiful thing. It's like it's literally why I feel so lucky to have found it so young, and what I didn't see then, I always had, even without fame, making movies, like just telling stories is a way to do that. And I think that if you do art in a way that's truly reflecting your insides, there are embedded causes in all of it in terms of literally using it and like using it as like a platform and using your voice in a way that's sort of overt. Who is allowed to do that? Like, people listen to people like us. It's again staggering to think about like the weight of it and how to wield it. And because like I said, I'm really shy too. I'm so not somebody who likes. I'm kind of inadvertently
It's just weird that I have this is all I'm saying. It's like not my go-to or whatever. But I respect the hell out of it and I am.
You wear it nicely.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, like she has such a hard time talking about herself. Like truly reflecting your insides and who is allowed to do this? She's putting everyone else up onto a pedestal and it's weird when she is also up on that same pedestal. Oh. Crud, this might actually be DE. So let's get some more cross-checks, shall we? So now we're gonna be looking at either savior thinking or savior feeling. And here's where we're gonna be watching for the state changes. We know Emma Watson to have feeling at the top. And so this clip that I'm gonna show you here is she's talking about people being allowed to share their feelings. So let's get a baseline for what savior feeling looks like. And in this one, I want you to pay attention to the value statements.
You must feel that from your fans. The feedback from people must have been,
Yeah.
thank God you said something like this for us.
Oh, I hope so. I mean, I'm really genuinely disturbed by this idea that men can't cry and that they just can't express themselves. They can't talk about how they actually feel. I think that's actually the saddest thing in the world. It's so bad.
I can cry, believe me.
Excellent. Like, it's crazy. It's what makes you human. How you feel, being able to express yourself, being passionate, being emotional. It's what makes you human. It's not what makes you a girl. It's what makes you human. I mean, it's if you've got a beating heart and you care about things, that's great. That's so good. Good, yeah.
Okay, great. So you see that she's very emotive. It's all over her face. Sad, great, excellent, amazing. Okay, Emma, so we have another question for you. What do we do about it?
Now what? What do you want me to do? Give me some instructions.
Give me some instructions.
So if there's boys and girls watching this right now, back to school tomorrow, what are the things that they can do? Are they shouting about things? Are they saying you shouldn't really talk about women that way? What are the things that they could do? The simple, everyday things.
Gosh. Well, it's I think people feel intimidated because they feel like they have to come up with like some grand, huge scheme that, it's not as complicated or intimidating as that. Actually, it's everyday, it's individuals, it's on a case-by-case basis, taking action, just doing something. Whether it's speaking up, whether it's just trying to change the way that someone else thinks about the issues. It can be done in so many different ways, and the stories that I've been getting are a testament to that. I can't tell people. It's got to be your story. It's got to be how you personally can make a difference. And it can be anything. And the smallest thing, the smallest gesture goes such a long way. It does. It really, really does.
All right, so you're telling me that Emma Watson, who runs this whole He for She campaign, can't give you one instruction to do other than like speak up and do the smallest thing that you can? Okay, we're starting to see it fall off a little bit here. And that is FI at the top. If I'm super awesome, if I'm super passionate about this one thing, then you guys will just do the work and I don't have to tell you what to do. You'll just do it, right? You'll do the thing for me, right? So like, that's what I'm doing with all these videos is I'm super passionate about ops and so you guys will just do my bidding. I mean, you guys will like do something, So I happened to catch Kristen Stewart talking about the same topic, people being allowed to share their feelings. See if you can spot the difference.
Like, it was a relief to finally let things out. It was a relief to communicate, to talk, to acknowledge your feelings. The hardest part was to stifle them. And obviously, I've done so much of that. I'm so mood oriented. I want to be honest all the time. Like, I want to have a real conversation with whoever's in front of me talking, even if it's for 5 minutes in a stupid interview. If you come in a bad mood, if you come in affected by something that is unbeknownst to people, the feeling of just coming in and going, good morning, yeah. There's nothing more painful than that. It makes your body shake. It's like, I can't go to work with a cold or with some sort of, maybe I got a fight with my mom or something, or I'm like disagreeing with my brother, and I come to work and go, Kristen, what's wrong? I don't know. I just feel I've got a cold and my mom was being weird and I love her, but like, and it's like I can't. I'm an oversharer, and so to keep things in is something I'm familiar with, but it's just so ugly. I hate it. I hate the feeling. I feel so sorry for people when you can see them struggling with hiding what they're feeling, and so it felt really good to do a movie where it was like unabashedly human and down to it, just gonna be
So the context for this clip is that a lot of people called Kristen out for not being expressive in her interviews. She's not very vulnerable, she's not sharing a lot of her feelings, and so she's talking about this movie where she was finally allowed to share her feelings and what a relief that was. And she's talking about how everyone else wasn't allowed to share their feelings, how everyone else is hiding their feelings. Well, you know what? You know who is allowed to share their feelings? Emma Watson. No one's stopping her. She's going, it's so sad, it's awful. Like, she's fully expressive and she doesn't have to hide behind anything. So she's allowed. And Kristen's talking about how she's so mood oriented and how she's an oversharer. Like, oh, I share my feelings. And then she gives her reasons. Well, it was just because my mom and my brother and this and that. And you know, then as well, when you're watching her, you're not seeing that she's as expressive as Emma is with her feelings. And it's more of like reporter talk. This, then that, then this, therefore this. And then when she finally does share her feelings, like you saw at the very end, she's just like, blah, blah. Okay, wait a second. Is that feelings in a savior state compared to Emma Watson? It doesn't really seem like it. So this is thinking over feeling. And if she's DE, that automatically makes it TE at the top. So is she doing the extroverted thinking? Well, when she was talking about Joan Didion, she was talking about her process and how she works and how Joan sees how other things work. So it's almost like TE-ception. Kristen is seeing Joan seeing other things work, right? So she's seeing kind of the work on the spectrum. And at the same time, her feelings seem to be more personal and like they're hers. She might mention others, but she's mostly talking about her own emotions, her mood, rather than other people. Okay, well, like, why is she not TI? Okay, well, let's check for that. I remember Felix and Holly were typing Neil Gaiman, and what really stuck out to me is that what they said about his process is that he's able to talk about how he does the work. It's very personal, he's downloaded a lot there, and so he's able to talk about his work, how he does his process, how he does his writing. Whereas compared to J.K. Rowling, she would kind of let the ball drop. She's like, here's kind of my process, here's sort of how I work, but anyways, that's kind of embarrassing and weird and And she couldn't do it, her being FI. And we saw the same thing with George R.R. Martin, who is also TI. He's going, oh, well, here's how I write the characters, and here's how I do the names, and the environment, and the setting. And so he's giving you all of how he works. So with Kristen, is she going to be able to talk about her personal process?
Question, what is it like for an actor to interact with these children and to live in the moment with them?
Everyone's process is different, and it's really, really beautiful when you find an adult actor that, I don't know, the drives are the same and the path is the same. And I always kind of have like one foot in and one foot out. I'm never like, I lost myself completely, I didn't even know we were making a movie. I'm always making a movie. Okay. Like that's, yeah, and that's, like, yeah. And yeah, but I'm always like kind of from the inside trying to like help the director do the best thing. And I still, like my process, even though it's like very concerted and I technically am technical, something happens when somebody understands that you both have one foot in and one foot out, and you start to become, and you start to actually be, and you do it with an awareness and a sort of mission statement thing that you're sharing, but at the same time, suddenly you start to be together in a way that is just so real. And it's like I have moments like that comprise the memories of my life. They're personal, they are not movies to me. Like they feel like they're my memories. And I don't know, I think not everyone is open to that. It's so rare. Like and you know, everyone has a different way, and that's totally fine. Sometimes like it doesn't even yield good results, but the feeling is good, you know? Right. But
so what would you say when you say that, so what is your process? That's like such a big thing. Like,
oh, I have to find an answer for this now. For the question.
Yeah. Oh, damn that. Let's not. We don't need to go in that direction. That's like, you know.
That's kind of the thing.
How much research did you do?
None. I just kind of sort of wung it, you know. No, I read all the stuff and watched all the things.
But then everything.
Yeah, my process and is just kind of I help the director do the best thing, and everyone else does it differently. Like she has a hard time talking about her personal process without ballooning it back out to how everyone else does it. Like that's what TE seems to be doing. Like for me, I might be able to share with you my process, but it's just gonna be really difficult. Like, I don't know, I record on like an iPhone 12 and like, I don't know, some people like will use like cameras and stuff like that, and I probably should do that, but that costs a lot of money. I don't want to invest in that, but that seems to yield a better result. Like I use kind of the box lighting here, and it was kind of cheap, it was mid-range, and it seems to do the job, but I see other people online that kind of have the more like high-tech kind of box lights, and I'm like, that would be a better investment, and it might actually like work better, but it seems to be fine. And other people will use like the sort of lighting stuff that I have in the backgrounds. I use the 2 lights. Some people will use like the like a singular kind of background light, and I kind of like that look, and that seems to be better in some sense, but is mine too chaotic for it? I don't know, and I don't know if the lights work, and I don't know about the shades, and like, because I've seen seen other people use different shades, and I seem to like that, and that seems to work a little bit better. I'm just like, I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, good grief. Like, I don't know, I can't like talk about these things without going, like, my personal process is just within the spectrum of how everyone else does it. So it's just like, I just go to the left and the right, and I'm like, mine's better, mine's worse, you know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, if you happen to know of any things that might make all of this better, let me know. Share with me your TE tips. Anyways, that's enough about that. So yes, Kristen is going to be TE. And now we're going to be jumping to her observer axis, which some of these parts should be a little bit easier. So first, we're going to look at whether she is OI or OE. Whether she has the need for control, for things to be the same, to be familiar, to be in a box, or whether she has the need for things to be different, for change, and for new opportunities.
Started when I was 17. We finished up when I was like around, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I'm really good at math, 5 years. To stick with something for that long, it's not like a very actory thing to do. We all have this like embedded, flitty nature. I want to try on all the shoes, and they were the same shoes for so long. Some actors always kind of know what they're going to do. There's like a different version of a process that is sort of learned and planned. And I'm not good at that. I'm not that type of performer. I really like to immerse myself in a scenario and see what happens and kind of fly by the seat of my pants. And that can inherently be a little scary, but I think everyone agrees like anything worth doing has some stakes to it.
Yeah, I don't want to be locked in for years. I want to try on all the shoes, try on all the things. I want to fly by the seat of my pants. That seems to be where she is more comfortable. Kristen doesn't seem to have a way. One of the things that I kept catching in her interviews is that everyone kept bringing up her engagement and her wedding because she kept talking about it. She brought it up on Howard Stern. From the time that she brought it up, it took her like 2 years to get engaged, and everyone's like, hey, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? And she's like, we'll see. We'll figure it out. She didn't have a plan. She never had a way. And then after she got engaged, they're like, oh, yeah, so when's the wedding? When is all that happening? And she kept like, oh, yeah, whatever. We're just taking our time. We're going to do it. And she didn't seem to have a system. She didn't seem to have a way. She wasn't planning things out. And it's been like 5 years, and she's still like not married. So, okay, she doesn't seem to be OI. So what you're gonna see from Kristen is that this is OE, which raises the question, is this SE or is this NE? And so one of the things you can't help but notice is that Kristen is pretty cool, bruh. And she's wearing all of these chains. Like, it does seem to cluster that a lot of the SEs will wear kind of the big jewelry, a lot of the chains. Like, we do know a lot of cool INFPs, but not a lot of them are wearing the big flashy jewelry. I think the only one that comes close is like Zendaya, you know? So I've been wearing like this chain all week, and it's made me so much cooler. So just pro tip, little secret here for you guys. If you wear a chain, you automatically gain 20 SE points for the year. Just saying. So trying to catch sensory versus intuition for Kristen was pretty difficult. She speaks rather intuitively, rather abstractly, except at the same time kind of grounded. So it's like, okay, which one is it? But I did happen to catch at least one clip with Shia LaBeouf, who happens to be one of my favorite ESFPs, and they seem to have a little bit of overlap.
Yeah, a studio movie about people, I'm all in.
Me too.
Yeah, but an indie movie about plot or a studio movie about plot, I don't give a rat's winkle doodle.
Yeah, I don't like watching them either.
Yeah, no, me neither. Yeah, I'm not interested in like sci-fi.
Me neither.
At all.
Yeah, or like fantasy stuff. I like it occasionally if it's like, you know, super allegorical and like obviously about like some heady thing.
Yeah.
But like, you know, the long ones about stuff that doesn't exist. I'm like, this is a long time to think about stuff that doesn't even exist.
Yeah, it's just hard to entertain something that's not grounded and real. I remember Peter Dinklage, he plays in a lot of fantasy roles, and he, being an ISTP, basically said the same thing. He's going, yeah, dragons, I guess, but fantasy works best when it is truthful and grounded in reality. So what you're going to see from Kristen is that she does happen to be a savior cool guy sensor. So jumping over to the elimination tool here, we happen to have her as TE and SC, and so kind of narrowing down her last parts and her animals. What we are noticing is that she is consume over blast. She has a hard time with the blast, she has a hard time talking and explaining herself, and she seriously does read tons of books, and she'll read them over and over, and she can tell you every single thing about them too. So she seems to be doing the real consume. And then wait, is she an introvert? Is she blast last?
I'm just hugely relieved every single time something's done, and I just run away from set.
I was actually talking to your dad as we were standing and watching the whole thing, and he told me that he didn't even know about this ceremony until the night before.
I know.
Sorry, Dad.
So quick clips there, and she's hiding away. She's running away from set. She has a little hidey corner, and she is not telling people. She's not explaining, hey, this is what's going on. And as well, Kristen is going to be a social 3. You're going to see that she is rather flexy, all of her clothing, all of her chains. She's playing the cool guy. And she's not playing the scam. She's not going, I'm not here to sell something. I'm not here to play this thing. I'm not putting on a face, whatever. And she really does seem to be specializing.
But I think primarily what I'm trying desperately to do right now is get my movie made. And then you're like, well, what else are you doing? Trying to get someone else's movie made. What else? Someone else's movie made.
So what you're going to be seeing from Kristen Stewart is that she is the most introverted ENTJ, which is going to be really weird. But you should still see the TE at the top where she is seeing from the tribe's point of view. She is seeing what's going on. She's hearing their voices and she's going, wait, who am I and my identity? And am I allowed to share my feelings? And all of her feelings at the bottom are going to be very personal and weird whenever she kind of gets into that. And then you're going to see that she is visual. So she has the masculine DE. So she's seeing the tribe as threatening. And that's why in every interview, she's like really scared all the time. She's constantly like looking around. Like even the INTJ guy, Sean.
You're scared.
I'm scary.
I'm gonna double this one.
I'm scary.
I can tell. Those eyes.
You're telling me this goofy goober, scary, this guy, out of anyone that you could pick? What? But as I'm looking at Kristen Stewart's life, I'm just starting to recognize that this is the most difficult type to manage. At least like the worst type that you could throw out into social media, into being a celebrity, like this one would be it. Because you have the masculine TE at the top, like you're even looking at her and she's gathering in the tribe's point of view. She knows all of their perspectives and she's seeing them as threatening. So she can't help but hear all of the criticisms. And at the same time, you're putting that powerful force onto this tiny introverted body. And so she's seeing the tribe as threatening, but she has no firepower to push back. And so she's constantly having to run, to hide, and retreat. Like she can't handle all the negative criticisms. And like I get it, a lot of like the EJs will play the blame game where it's like you're after me, you're against me, everyone's attacking me, and it may or may not be true all the time. But in Kristen's case, out of any case that I've ever seen, yes, she's being attacked, especially if Donald Trump, the president, is writing like 11 tweets about you know what I mean? Like compare her to Cheryl Lee Ralph, who has masculine TE at the top, but Cheryl is an extrovert and she's a number 1, so she is climbing all the way to the top. She has the blaster hands and she's such a commanding force that no one's gonna be able to shove her down. You can't put her into a box. But with Kristen, she just doesn't have the same firepower, so it's a lot harder for that type. Which is why it is so encouraging as I've been watching Kristen Stewart that she has grown stronger and more confident. Yes, she is still shy, she is still awkward and nervous and weird and scared, but she seems to be able to roll through the punches much easier compared to where she was a couple of years ago. She seems to be able to take the hits and keep being able to move forward. And at the same time, she happens to be very authentic. Like, yes, she still has the weirdness around her identity and who she is, but at the same time, she presents in every interview like her awkward, natural, weird self. And the internet is starting to catch on. Like I'm watching all the comments and they're just like, we just love how authentic she is, that she's awkward and she's weird and she owns it. And I think part of it is the fact that she's a number 3. She's like, yeah, I'm not playing the scam. I'm not selling anything. I'm not putting on my Hollywood face. And so she is her true self and she's awkward and she's weird and it's uncomfortable, but everyone's going, at least we can relate to you. You feel like a real person, unlike a lot of these flashy celebrities. One little side note here, like I will see in the community that there is a lot of hate, perceived hate towards like the masculine TE at the top, the ENTJs and the ESTJs. And as well, there's a lot of hate towards like FE in general. Like I'm noticing a lot of that. And like I get it, if you've been burned before, like some of those types can be very intense, but at the same time, like I just love these types so much. Like I love all the ENTJs and the ESTJs. Like I'm just so in awe at like their ability to read people. I'm just like, how do you do that? How does someone like Kristen Stewart, the last person that I would expect to do this, she just goes on and on about people. Like what do you have downloaded about people that you're able to talk about them so easily, so comfortably, on and on? Like I can maybe give you 3 sentences about like the people in my life, but it would be really difficult. It's gonna be really hard for me because I'm not paying attention to them. I'm like, what are you doing unconsciously that you're gathering in everyone else, that you're hearing all that? Like almost these step by step, like, how do you be more charismatic? Oh, well, you smile and you nod and you do this and then now you feel it, right? You know, you're kind of doing it. So I'm like, what are you guys actually doing that's hearing, like, how are you hearing the tribe? Are you paying attention to them more? Like, teach me your ways. And I'm sure like anyone out there that has that is going, you don't want it. You don't want to be hearing from the tribe all the time. Like that does sound kind of scary. I get you. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm just like so impressed. So I just want to say for all of you ENTJs and ESTJs out there, like just sending lots of love your way because I just really love this type. And I don't care what the rest of the community says. I don't care what they value. If they don't like you, whatever, don't listen to them because really, I like you. And that's all that matters, right? Anywho, I never thought I'd admit it, but Kristen Stewart is pretty dang cool, dude. Yeah, I'm excited to see her journey over the next couple of years, over the next decades. She hasn't fallen off the tracks yet, so I hope to see her continue to grow and develop, and I think she's gonna get stronger over time. So here's to hoping. Anywho, I hope that you enjoyed, and if you did, let me know, leave a comment, whatever, and then let me know who you'd like to see next. Anywho, I will catch you later.
Actual confidence in yourself isn't compensation. Sometimes it's about being quiet and yeah, just sort of being okay with being a weirdo if you are, you know?